Ousmane Dembele might have the craziest roller coaster of a career we've ever seen. I don't think you could name a player who seemed so finished come back and carry a team to their first Champions League, all while contending for the Ballon d'Or. From an astronomical rise to stardom, to video game addiction, to a plague of injuries, Ousmane Dembele's career path has been something out of a movie, with no shortage of drama. So how was he able to make one of the most spectacular comebacks in football history? Well, first, we need to talk about the Frenchman's first renaissance. Dembele was born just outside of Normandy, France, in 1997. Dembele played football from an early age, as most French kids do, I imagine. I mean, it seems like the whole country is a football factory spewing out world-class talent each year. Dembele joined a nearby town's academy in 2004, known as ALM Évreux. Funnily enough, this is the same small youth team that Upamecano would play for a few years later. Ousmane was reportedly playing for Évreux's senior team at age 12, which is ridiculous to think about. He quickly made a name for himself in the depths of the French leagues. His rapid pace, quick feet, and ability to play with both feet made him an absolute menace on the wing. But despite his clear footballing ability, things weren't as effortless off the pitch. He showed some frustration in training, and he was displaying early signs of disciplinary issues. But the thing is, he was so good that no one seemed to care. He went straight to the top of French football for Ligue 1 side Rennes Academy at the age of 13. However, Dembele took a while to climb through the ranks of his new club. Although he showed the skill to make it to the top, it seems that his work rate and self-discipline held him back. From showing up late to training, to not tracking back, the young Frenchman really struggled with keeping up defensively, even though he was one of the fittest and quickest players at the club. Despite these red flags, his manager decided that he was just too good not to play him. In his senior debut, Dembele came on in the 78th minute and lit up the pitch, picking up an assist in a 2-0 win. It seemed that his plan was to be so good that no one could bench him, even if he did have some baggage. And at first, that seemed to work perfectly for him. He scored 13 goals in 18 appearances by the end of the season, including his first hat-trick in a 6-1 win. Rennes' sporting director said that the young forward was just like Cristiano Ronaldo. Brilliant to watch, cocky, but most importantly, unstoppable. It was clear that Dembele wasn't going to stay at Rennes for long, and he was scooped up by Borussia Dortmund for £35 million in 2016. This might seem like a small fee considering his output and his potential to be one of the great French wingers of his generation. However, scouts seemed to already pick up on some of the warning signs the teenager was showing in training and in the locker room. This made the transfer a pretty big gamble for Dortmund, but with Dembele's attacking threat, Thomas Tuchel was willing to take a very uncharacteristic risk. I mean, just look at the team he chose for England. This guy looks like he's allergic to risk. Henderson and Kyle Walker in the Big 25? Is this even the same manager? Either way, his risk to bring in the Wonder Kid seemed to pay off and then some. He took off running in black and yellow, scoring his first goal in a 5-1 win against Wolfsburg. The 19-year-old also scored his first Champions League goal in a match that ended 8-4 against Legia Warsaw. What is that scoreline? How do you have 12 goals in a match without Onana in it? Dembele continued to show consistent form and creativity on the pitch, racking up an impressive 13 assists in his debut Bundesliga season. It was clear that if he was happy in getting minutes, he was one of the best wingers in Europe after Messi and Ronaldo. So basically, the best human winger in European football. At the end of this incredible campaign for Dembele and Dortmund, he found himself in the biggest match of his career and a first chance at silverware, the DFB Pokal final against Frankfurt. With his issues regarding mentality and focus, there were big question marks around him playing in his first big cup final. Did he even care to win? Would he take his defensive duty seriously? Well, whatever the haters were saying, they were shut up pretty quickly when the team scored just 8 minutes in. Dembele and Dortmund went on to win 2-1 to end their 5-year trophy drought. He won Man of the Match and was crowned Bundesliga Young Player of the Year, and even landed a spot in the Team of the Season. Real ones remember the sheer fright that card caused when loading into an Ultimate Team game. After his first season threw him into the spotlight, he was immediately on the radar of all of the biggest clubs in Europe. Teams like Arsenal, Liverpool, and Barcelona were reportedly throwing bids at Dortmund of over €100 million. Dortmund eventually agreed on a massive €135 million transfer to Barcelona, but even this price was considered to be a deal. Dembele was looking to be the next world beater, who would fill the shoes of Ronaldo and Messi as the best winger in the world. With his pace, trickery, and now proven track record in Ligue 1 and the Bundesliga, this move to Barcelona was looking like his final step to football stardom. But his start to life in Barcelona could only be described as the Frenchman's dark age. But things didn't start off bleak. Dembele joined Barca as a replacement for Neymar, who had just made a record €222 million move to PSG, making the French replacement transfer fee look like pocket change. And Ousmane seemed to fill this vacancy in their squad perfectly. Just like he did at Dortmund, he came out flying, scoring 5 goals in his first 6 games for the Spanish Super Club. And not only that, he seemed to really get along with his teammates both on and off the pitch. This really seemed like it was going to be a match made in heaven for Dembele and Barca. However, what the winger experienced after this initial bounce wasn't necessarily a fall-off as much as it was a fizzling out. He dropped in form and goal involvement, but most notably, his drive. On his day, he was the most rapid player on the pitch, creating something every time he got the ball. But even with these key characteristics, he almost had this inexplicable way of ghosting matches. It was becoming more apparent that as a Barca fan, you really weren't sure which Ousmane Dembele you were going to get on any given match day. And it wasn't just the fans who were picking up on this. After a game against Sevilla, one of the training coaches said that those who started the match would do a recovery session, while the fresh players would do a full day of training. As Dembele walked over to the rest of the starters, one of the team's heavyweights said, "Wait, Dembele played?" The rest of the team erupted in laughter at the French rookie's expense. Reporters didn't say who specifically made the comment, but my money's on Suarez. If he'll attack a player like a starving dog, I don't think he'd draw the line at taking a jab at one of his teammates. Whoever it was, this seemed to set something off for Dembele. I mean, adjusting to life in a foreign country with the pressure of a 100 million plus euro valuation is hard enough for any 20-year-old. But when your manager, fans, and most importantly your teammates turn against you, it was a recipe for disaster for the young star. As he felt like more and more of an outcast at La Masia, Dembele began spending more time with his entourage of friends from Normandy who had followed him to Catalonia. They were reportedly staying at his home and playing video games until dawn. After an uncharacteristic 4-3 loss to Real Betis, he was nowhere to be found at training the next day. The club tried calling him, but it appeared that he had gone completely off the grid. Eventually, the club decided to send someone to his residence, and they were shocked at what they found. All of the windows were shut and all of the blinds were drawn. It was near pitch black despite it being the middle of the day at this point. Dembele was found there, still sleeping, along with an entire squad of friends who seemed to have crashed there for the night. He told the Barca representative that he was having stomach issues and was told to rest for the remainder of the day, despite not letting the club know he would not be at training. This seemed to be the final straw for Barcelona, as Dembele had been a ticking time bomb since his arrival in Spain. It wasn't one heinous act, but rather a constant, insufferable attitude problem that was stunting his own development. Despite winning a league title in his first season there, it was a year that he would like to forget. And by the end of the second season, he seemed to have completely fallen off of the radar. In 2019, Barcelona spent almost £500 million on the likes of Griezmann, Pedri, and Frankie de Jong. It seemed like the club was moving forward with a project that just didn't have Dembele in it. He would still get minutes here and there, but his struggle with constant hamstring issues and consistency left the fans and managers with much to be desired. He left the club at the end of the 2023 season for a fraction of the price he was bought for, and to be frank, a fraction of the player he once was. Back in his home country, Ousmane hoped to return to match fitness and, most importantly, return to the goal-scoring form he showed while at Dortmund. Being in his home country and closer to his friends and family provided some much-needed stability in addition to his move being a 6-year deal. But this transition to PSG wouldn't just be a walk in the park, and he would have a lot of work to put in to return to his former status as a world-class winger. But after choosing number 23, he seemed to send a message to the doubters that he wasn't going down without a fight. Around the same time as Dembele's move to Paris, Luis Enrique was appointed as PSG's new manager after they only won the league by 1 point the year before. Talk about a disappointment of a season. Enrique's managerial style revolved around high intensity and aggressive defensive pressing. This involved the squad firing on all cylinders and doing their defensive duties. As you probably know by now, Ousmane is not known for his world-class defensive capabilities and work ethic. This new player-manager combo was looking to be a titanic clash of footballing ideologies, an unstoppable force versus an immovable object. And the first change Enrique decided to make was a pretty drastic one. He started utilizing Dembele as a number 9 rather than exclusively on the wing. For the Frenchman, this was uncharted territory. He had no experience playing as a striker and was considered to be too diminutive and not physical enough to hold up play in the center. To combat this, Luis Enrique gave him pretty much full creative freedom and allowed him to basically wander around the pitch to pick up the ball and quickly transition into attack. Similar to Pep Guardiola's tactics, Enrique's PSG had evolved into a flowing, almost positionless football. Giving this freedom to a player like Ousmane Dembele made a world of difference, as he was regarded as a street baller, a more intuitive, creative player rather than a structured, robotic attacker. This made him almost impossible to track, as he could pick up the ball on the touchline, dropping into the midfield, or making a direct run behind on goal. By giving him this offensive freedom, Enrique built trust between the two of them, which was evident by how much more effort the Frenchman was giving on both sides of the ball. His defensive tracking had completely transformed. This wasn't just from staying consistently fit for the first time in years, but also because of how his attitude had shifted under a manager like Enrique. And in his second season in charge, Dembele would experience a footballing renaissance no one thought they would see from him again. After ironing out any disciplinary issues and finding a real rhythm in the squad, Enrique and Dembele went into the 24-25 season full of confidence. The PSG skipper racked up 7 goal contributions in his first 5 league matches, and the French side found themselves comfortably at the top of the table. And as the season progressed, he caught red-hot form in front of goal. He scored an unbelievable 5 braces and 1 hat-trick, propelling him right into the limelight as one of the best attackers in Europe. PSG were undefeated in Ligue 1, and they were progressing to the Champions League knockout stages. This was going to be Dembele's final test. Could he keep up his scoring prowess and propel PSG to their first Champions League trophy? Their first knockout round was a whitewash. Brest won't want to watch the 10-goal aggregate back anytime soon, even with the attention they got from Jamie Carragher and Micah Richards for some unknown reason.
And as we all know on this show, we all love a bit of Brest, so we move on.
They were then matched up against their toughest opponents of the season, English juggernauts Liverpool FC, who were already running away with the Premier League. After losing 1-0 at the Parc des Princes, PSG were able to turn things around at Anfield with a 7th-minute goal from Dembele himself. They were able to destroy Liverpool 4-1 in their penalty shootout, capping off an incredible performance in one of the most difficult away fixtures in the world. Let's be real, who expected Nunez to score this? They kept running through Premier League opposition, defeating Villa and then Arsenal, who were still bragging about putting 5 past Real Madrid over 2 legs. No, that doesn't count as a trophy. And now, Dembele and PSG found themselves in the biggest final in club football, with a real chance at glory against an aging Inter Milan. On average, the Inter team was 5 years PSG's senior. This was going to be a real battle of strategy and experience versus speed and work rate. And it was clear from the first whistle that the young guns were ready to take over. PSG absolutely dominated the ball in offensive chances. It seemed like Inter Milan were stuck in their tracks. The speed in which PSG won the ball back and transitioned into attack was completely overwhelming for the Italian side, and they simply didn't have the legs to keep up with them. The final score was an astonishing 5-0, which was the biggest win in Champions League final history. Even though he didn't get on the scoreboard himself, Dembele got an impressive 8.5 match rating and was a key player in the lead-ups to many of their best chances. If he wasn't already one of the favorites for the Ballon d'Or, with 48 goal contributions in 49 games throughout the season, he was certainly a frontrunner now. It's impossible to count him out of the race, even against the likes of Mo Salah, Lamine Yamal, and Kylian Mbappe's record-breaking seasons. So after his incredible ups and downs, Dembele has turned the corner in the past year to finally reach his potential as an elite attacker for club and country. He has led PSG to glory in a display of total football. Everyone had counted him out after his horrific spell at Barcelona, but he proved us all wrong. Do you think he'll end the year with a Ballon d'Or? Leave a comment below, and please subscribe if you haven't already.